All right, welcome in. We have assembled probably the best panel that could really break down everything that has really transpired in the last few days. I think we're potentially going on a week now in regard to the NBA gambling scandal. I don't want to spend too much time, which, by the way, I'm Anita Marks. I don't want to spend too much time in regard to rehashing all that went down because you probably already know it's been front and center. It's been on everybody's front burner, every news station, every sports station. The poker ring operation, high stakes games, alleged mob fraud ties with Chauncey Billups and Damon Jones, and of course the sports betting insider info scheme with Terry Rozier, and of course Jones a part of that as well. Non-public information. It's out there. We know what has happened. But now we've assembled this crew, this panel to do a deeper dive. Again, I'm Anita Marks. We've got Nevin Shapiro. You've seen us before. I think we did an excellent job covering the P. Diddy trial. More to come. Greg Yankow, former FBI agent. Could you ask for anything better? How about Keyon Dooling, former NBA player, to break it all down? So, Greg, let's start with you. First things first. When the news broke, on Thursday, what was your original, what was your reaction? Did you pick up the phone? Did you call another FBI agent to get the skinny, to get the scoop? Tell us what was going on with you when the news broke.
So like when any type of large media event like this happens that involves the FBI, I'm always curious to see if I know anyone that's currently working the case. And in this case, I do not. I believe it's all out of the Eastern District of New York, and I don't have anyone there anymore. But my second thought what was two things. One, I was very curious as to the how they did this, and even more so, I was curious as to why, and that's why I'm very excited. Keyon is involved with us today because he has the perspective. He's been there. He's been in the league for years. Like how do you, when it seems to those of us on the outside, you have everything going in your life. How do you ever get involved in something like this? And especially involved with these figures from organized crime. It blew my mind. And then the second part that my FBI agent brain started working is well, this is just going to be the tip of the iceberg. Where are we going from here? Who else is going to be involved? Because as an FBI agent, the as soon as this news dropped, I would already be working on who else can I get involved in this. And that's where my thoughts were.
Well, I mean, a few things in regard
Yeah,
to cases that you have been a part of and you are
yeah.
aware of and in the know in regard to cases like this. Kind of for the average Joe Schmo like me who doesn't have the inside skinny like you do, like how long does an investigation go? Like how extensive is the evidence compiled? How do FBI agents work with federal prosecutors? Like, how does this all come together for something of this scale, Greg?
Yeah, so when you're starting a case like this, unlike what people believe about the FBI or they see on television or see in movies, we're not sitting around listening to phone calls or reviewing email messages or chat messages for just random citizens. For a case like this to start, and Nevin, you know this as better than anyone. This had to have been brought to the FBI by someone. So whether someone came into an office and reported it, whether they had a vendetta against someone, or more likely was some low-level individual arrested for something else, made contact with the FBI, and then just started talking about this case and saying, I can give you X, Y, and Z if you give me whatever deal they're looking for. My guess is that's probably where it came from because we're not sitting around looking at, gambling sheets. There might be agents listening well, in the past, listening to phone calls of organized crime figures. But honestly, all of that is pretty much gone out the window. The families are far too sophisticated for us to intercept phone calls at this point. So my belief is that someone brought this to the FBI, whether they were in a situation themselves or just wanted to rat on some people.
Nevin?
Yeah. So first off, I would certainly agree with Greg. Unfortunately for me, I found myself in that similar pond of being a bigger whale to a smaller minnow. Um, for starters, in my own personal experience, I do believe it's important to note that the cases are different in the sense that there's a poker game, and then I think the more extreme level of what's concerning as it relates to the leagues is the sharing of information, inside information from the players and them not playing and who may be playing and whatnot. Because now you're really dealing with inside trading and it really compromises the integrity of the sport in general. The poker situation, and I don't know the specific breakdown details. I haven't read the indictment, but I would say that that's sexy because of the name involved, being Chauncey Billups. But I think it's less scandalous, if there's such a thing, than the improprieties of compromising the game and the integrity of the game.
Greg, also what kind of surprised me was like the FBI with the press conference, right? Like, how often do you see? I mean, it was kind of I'm sure you watched that press conference or you watched highlights of that press conference. Were you taken back by that?
I've always been of the opinion that as an FBI agent, I should not be involved in the news at all. Maybe the work that I do should be involved in the news, but I'm never a fan when the FBI is out front and center, kind of advertising what we do or how we did it. That being said, I was forced to be involved in one of those press conferences a couple of years ago, and it's very uncomfortable for agents. That's just not what we do. Um, but I think that the current leadership in the FBI is very into getting as much positive press as possible and being in front of cameras as much as possible. So I understood it. I mean, this touches so many levels of culture right now. I mean, the NBA is arguably the most popular sports league in the world. I mean, soccer fans may argue, but I mean, it's everywhere. And for the FBI to be involved in something with the NBA, I think it was just too with the current leadership, I think it was just too big to not do a press conference. But again, I was a little, I was like, yeah, of course they're going to do it, but I'm never a fan of it.
Keyon, let's get to you, right? In your years, well, first things first, when the news broke for you, knowing the players involved, and of course Chauncey Billups, who's now, of course, a coach, what was your initial reaction?
My initial reaction was it was a trigger for me. Being someone who played in the NBA, who coached in the NBA, and also was indicted while working in the NBA, my heart immediately went to my brothers on like that feeling, that fear, the unknown, and their families, right? Because like as we get indicted or if we go through something, it doesn't just impact us; it impacts our organization, it impacts our community, the people we take care of, but most importantly, it impacts our wife and our children. And so my first thought was like, damn, man, I'm just praying for his family right now because I've been there and I know how it feels and I know how quiet it gets from other people, right? Because like when you go through a situation like this, um, man, hey, a lot of people who you loved, who you talked to maybe the day before, they might not want to touch you anymore. And so a lot of this stuff you may have to go through your own. And if you haven't had any experience with being indicted and things like that, you don't know what the future may hold for you. So that was my initial thought.
So what do you like? What do you think they're going through right now? I mean, one day they're on the sideline coaching, one day they're on the court playing. Rozier was arrested in Orlando
Mm-hmm.
in his hotel room. Like their lives change in an instant.
Yeah.
Well, kind of, if you can, mentally, emotionally, what are they going through right now?
Well, I mean, it's a shock. You almost kind of shut down for a second, and you have to try and process it. So it gets a little bit quiet. It gives you a chance to reflect. Um, Fear takes over, in my opinion. Fear takes over because the fear of the unknown, when you talk about some of the things that they're facing, it's a lot of time associated. And who's affiliated with those things, it's some dangerous people. And so you have to be very calculated in how you want to approach it from a legal standpoint, but then you have to deal with your family. And I keep going back to this point because, like, our families are like a silent victim in this. Because a lot of times, it blindsides them. A lot of times they put us on pedestals and things like that. And because those guys have had so much success at every intersection in life, they've always been celebrated. And this is humiliating. It is scary for the family. And not only do the players take a reputational hit in the league, but also like your family takes a reputational hit. I know my kids, I had to take them out of school for a little while when I got indicted. So I really, my heart and my prayers really go out to the family.
Nevin, I'm sure that you could interject here as well,
Yeah,
considering what you've been
and
through
I
as
was
well.
about to. Yeah, I was about to touch on something Keon just said, which was so spot on, to the detail. And one thing that has to be considered when you're looking at it as the common person is your ego becomes a big part of this, but that right away has got to go to the side because
Mm-hmm.
now you're dealing with the reality of the situation. And let me tell you, it took me some time. Both Keon and I have been, in a similar place, different circumstances and different timelines that we were both staring at. But I can tell you that the unknown, and for anyone who's watching this out there, could be from one day to 10 to 15 years. So close your eyes and think about, where am I going to be for the next 10 years? That's how real this is. And there is no process right now for them to even consider, because they're lawyering up if they're lucky, and I'm sure most are. Um, but this is a process. This is not going to be over in a week. Like, this is going to go on and on and on, and it's going to feel like there's no end to this.
Mm-hmm.
And the ego has to go to the side, because right now there's still, I promise you, each individual involved in this, specifically from the professional athlete, is worried about their ego right now and their name and their brand and this. And that's out the window for a while,
So,
until
Greg,
until the ship comes to shore.
now, Greg, you and I were speaking before we started this, and you said that really, if you were the agent on this case,
Yeah.
I don't want to put words in your mouth. I'll let you pick it up from there. If you were the agent overseeing this case, what would you be doing right now?
So it's actually, and I'll ask Keon and Nevin. I already know the answer with Nevin. I'm trying to grow this case, and I'm getting extreme pressure from those above me to grow this case. Um, every minute of every day, my boss's boss, their bosses are pressuring the case agents to keep going, make this bigger, get more names. Um, and Nevin, I know, I mean, you and I were in the situation together before we ever talked about charges or an indictment. I
Hmm.
went to you
Yeah.
and tried to get you to talk. Didn't work, but that's where my mindset
Yeah.
always is. Keon, before you were indicted, did they try to get more information out of you?
No, I didn't get an
No.
opportunity. No, they didn't try and get more information out of me before I was indicted. But when I got arrested, they say, hey, they always going to put you in this room in a warehouse or something like that and give you a little agua and, you know what I mean? Try and make sure your palates are good enough to talk, right? But for me, um, I'm just cut from a different cloth. For me, it was just more so, hey, look, I'm a lawyer up in this point. I don't, want to have any conversations. And I kind of like let the process kind of go as it would. But obviously, to your point, G, they wanted to make the case bigger. It's just they wasn't going to get that information from me.
Right. And I'm wondering, Anita, the indictment was already came down and was made public. I wonder if they were approached beforehand and given the opportunity to provide information on other people. It would honestly surprise me if they were not. Usually, the indictment, it's going to be the kind of the final card that I'm going to play in these situations. I'm going to want to talk to the people beforehand and see if I can get more information. Now, every prosecutor is different, so that's going to be a decision that the prosecutor is actually going to have the final say on, not the FBI. So if the prosecutors in the Eastern District were like, no, we're going to charge first and then we're going to see what happens. It's possible, but as the case agent, I would always be pushing to listen. Let me go talk to the guy. Let me go talk to this person.
Damn, G,
Let
I
me
wish
see
you
what
was
I
on
can
my
get out
case,
of them.
buddy.
What's that?
I said, I wish you was on my case. Because like I got a superseding indictment. So before they even came to me, they had already had conversations along the way with all the, so many other guys. I don't want to throw those guys under the bus.
Yeah.
Okay,
But
so
yeah, man,
there's
it's interesting. It's
there's some
interesting to hear your
perception
perspective. Thank you.
that you know the FBI needs to make Chauncey and Rozier and these guys an example, right? And what you should not do, especially not only if you're an NBA player, but just professional sports, period. But at the same time, and Greg, what you're talking about is, are they really the whale that the federal government wants? I would imagine that it's more of the crime families, because they're the ones that really orchestrating this. Am I wrong?
It's funny. The FBI, and again, Nevin knows this. He's probably making faces over there. The FBI operates really based on numbers. Names don't mean anything. Crime families, maybe a little bit more. But an NBA player, NFL player, a CEO, stockbroker, doesn't matter. It's all based on numbers. I'm rated when I was an agent. I'm rated on how many people I can get, how many charges I can get. And that pressure is constant from the top down in the FBI. It is all based. So after everything that we do, whether we do an arrest, we do an indictment, we do a complaint, we get a plea deal, there's a stat sheet, and the stat sheet has to be completed, and that is submitted to the office. Every FBI field office. So this one is Eastern District, so it's going to be out of Brooklyn. The FBI office in Manhattan is probably overseeing it. The agents are being pressured nonstop to get more numbers, because every FBI office gets their budget based on the stats they produce for the previous fiscal year. The more arrests, the more indictments, the more money you seize. That's how your office is rated. That's how your office is funded.
Yeah, as we discussed in our Diddy trial coverage, Anita, and Greg was part of that on a couple of occasions. Um, that that sector out of New York is brutal. Okay, they're efficient. So Greg was speaking about numbers and stat sheets. Let me give you one. Okay, they dropped the bag. They fumbled the bag in the Diddy case. That was a major media collapse on their behalf. They are going to tie up all loose ends in this situation. This net is going to grow, and it's going to grow significantly. I'm certain of that, without knowing anything about the case. That also being said, NBA home offices are in, I believe, Secaucus, New Jersey, or very close, New York, New Jersey area. I promise you that they're going to have the unwavering cooperation of the NBA, because this is nothing but a bad black eye on that association. So I see this really compounding in a much greater net than what you see currently today. And when you and I were speaking earlier, I told you, I said, there are guys, there are names out there, I promise you, that are going to come out at some point. And if you had any dealings, even if you had nothing illegal going on in any of these situations, if you were even present, you got to have fear of the unknown. These
Mm-hmm.
guys just don't miss. They cover their tracks and they
Mm-hmm.
cover your tracks. I know because I've been through it.
Keyon,
And Nevin, you have two organizations that are not necessarily aligned that are involved in this case. You have organized crime, and you have the NBA.
Yeah,
Organized crime is going to protect themselves. They don't care about the NBA.
yeah,
NBA players, coaches, league officials are going to protect themselves. They don't care about organized crime.
yeah.
You're
You have two
yeah.
competing interests, most definitely. And that being said, the weaker side, I promise you, Anita, is the professional athletes because they're going to be stepped on to talk. It's not the norm for a professional athlete to go to federal prison. It's sort of the world that the other side is accustomed to. And so the weaker link are going to become these athletes. I assure you.
Keyon, a lot has been made with Chauncey Billups' court appearance that he was wearing the Clutch Sports Agency sweatshirt. Um, did that strike you as strange? Are you buying into that narrative that they need to come rescue him or else?
No, I don't think so. It's not like you can pick your wardrobe like and go through and sift through everything when they come and get you. When they come that early in the morning, probably you're half naked or in your boxers or whatever, and they'll handcuff you and then go put clothes on you or anything like that. But no, I don't think it's a subliminal to Clutch Sports from Chauncey's perspective. In my opinion, but that's just my opinion.
Well, that's why you're on this podcast. We want your
Yeah, that's just
opinion.
yeah.
So, and but that's another narrative that is out there. So when you were playing, like how prevalent is gambling, right? Like
Gambling, yes, it's very prevalent
right.
on NBA planes. Sometimes it could spill over into the hotels. If you got a crew of guys who like to gamble, sometimes it could go to the house. If you got guys, if the house game gets too good, then people start getting invited in and things like that. So those things do happen, but they are not unique to the NBA. And I think that's one of the biggest like concerns that I have with situations like this, because if you're gonna come and target the NBA, and our guys, then it's got to be across the board. Like, you got to go into the country clubs. You have to go into, these different environments where it's not just NBA players as well. If we're going to have a level playing field, because a lot of guys like to rush, they make a lot of money. They enjoy the camaraderie and things like that. Obviously, when you talk about these charges, that's a different deal, right? But most times, guys are just blowing off smoke, blowing off steam, hanging out, having fun, and they enjoy playing cards, like a lot of people here in our country.
Well, that was another question I wanted to ask you in regard to sports gambling, right? Do you feel that the NBA players are educated enough in regard to sports gambling and just how sensitive information is about them, whether they're telling their wives, their best friend, their cousin, hey, I'm not feeling 100 today. My ankle's bothering me. I don't think I'm going to play.
Yeah.
Like are they like how realistically, like how educated are they in regard to how sensitive that information is to the gambling world?
So when I was playing, gambling wasn't as prevalent as it is now, right? There's a lot of money in legalized gambling, and it's a big operation. And our game, the NBA game, has grown because of their gambling deals and the television deals. And so I never knew what a parlay was. I never knew what an over and under was and things like that when I was playing. However, when I was playing, if I wasn't going to play that night, I'm going to call my parents and my family and tell them, yo, no, I'm not getting tickets for y'all tonight. Maybe, if y'all come in the second quarter because my ankle is messed up and I'm not going to play. Now, what happens is sometimes that could be innocent. And if you don't know, maybe somebody who you love or is close to, they go and take that information and they use it without you knowing. Right. And so it's a catch 22. I think the NBA and the PA does a good job of trying to expose guys to the information and educate people on it, on, what's going on in gambling. But at the same time, everybody, you're not going to have 100% of everybody being perfect. Some guys are going to fall short. And I've fallen short several times in my life in different areas of my life. And I have grace for guys who make mistakes. As long as you hold yourself accountable, you learn your lesson, you grow from that experience. I'm not going to throw any of the guys under the bus because, like I said, I've fallen short several times.
Greg, I want to go back to you in regard to, because at the end of the day, this really is about organized crime in essence, and how they have their tentacles into sports, and not just professional sports, but collegiate sports as well. What is your take on that? How bad is it? And especially in this day and age, as we're sitting here talking about legalized gambling being so prevalent.
Yeah, if you're talking organized crime, or like everyone's mind instantly jumps to, like New York crime families, Goodfellas, The Godfather, that type of things. But there's also many smaller organizations that are just as involved in this. You mentioned, gambling on college sports. There is no regulation on that. There's nothing. There are groups that can get to someone, pay them money, and have something happen or have a performance. We have no idea what's happening. It's not tracked. It's not monitored, other than after the fact, where if a lot of money was laid down. But a lot of these groups know how to not over kind of stimulate a betting market. They know how much money to put down when they're involved in something. I think college sports. If I had to guess, I believe that college sports is such a big problem with this that we haven't even scratched the surface on what's happening. I think the professional sports leagues, Keyon, correct me if I'm wrong, but there are probably in every organization in the NBA right now someone that monitors this information constantly and monitors player interactions. There's nothing in college sports right now. So not even just the quote unquote New York crime families. There are organizations throughout the country, throughout the world, that are dipping into this gambling pool and doing what they can to manipulate it to favor an outcome for themselves.
The biggest question I have, Anita, what took so long?
Yeah.
Well, Greg could answer that. I mean, how long do you feel that it took for them to compile all this evidence?
Well, they said it took a couple years, right? They said this started sometime maybe 2024. Did I see that correctly?
I thought it was 2019.
Yeah, 2019.
Oh, was it 2019?
Mm-hmm.
Wow. So yeah, that's a long time. Yeah, I give those case agents credit. That's 6 years of doing an investigation without getting any statistics or any results. For some reason, I was thinking it was 2024. 2019. That actually, my ears perk up hearing that on what else is out there. What's the next shoe to drop? Because to work a case for 6 years and to get a couple of low-level organized crime involvement and 3 individuals involved with the NBA, I don't know if the juice is worth the squeeze on paper right there. I don't know what prosecutor's office, especially the Eastern District, where we talked about that during the Diddy trial. Those are hired guns in the Eastern District. They're always looking for their next move. They're looking to do their big cases and cash out. To sit on a case for 6 years and only get, a couple of dozen low level organized crime figures and 3 people involved in the NBA. I don't know. So that makes me think.
All right. So just to sum it up, let's go around. Keyon, let's start with you. Your thoughts on where everything stands right now, and what do you expect? Do you expect more names to be revealed here?
Good question. Yeah, I do. I do, because I think at some point, with the heightness of the situation, I do expect more people to be involved. And even if you're not involved with it, there's a lot of people who maybe gambled, you know what I mean, who gamble currently and things like that. So there's a lot of afraid people. But yeah, I think there's going to be some more names that kind of come out. I don't know which leagues. I don't know if it'll be the NBA. I don't know if it'll be the NFL. I don't know what it'll be. But I think this is just a tip of the iceberg of kind of opening up this, because there's so much money into gambling. And I think they're putting a real focus right now to just really try and like put a nail in the coffin with that, because it generates so much money for the sport, for the games, and it engages with the fans. It's brought a whole different dynamic. So yeah, I think you'll see more to come. I do.
Nevin?
I think this is going to be a deterrent type case, Anita, in my opinion. I think this is going to be an example setter for why not to get involved if you're a professional athlete in this type of activity. And I think there are going to be more names in this thing. I think these guys, I don't want to, like I started early in the show, I don't want to denote the Chauncey Billups situation. I think the much more extreme situation is the inside trading type stuff, because a lot of people play poker and have house games and this and that. So I don't. It's not that I'm downplaying that crime per se, but there's a significant difference of like fixing games and fixing outcomes of games, in my opinion. And I think it's a drastic contrast as far as culpability, in my opinion. But I think this is a deterrent of a situation, and I think these guys are going to be, whoever ends up going down on this, are going to be made to. They're going to be the poster child of why you don't want to trade inside information on professional sports leagues. That's my opinion.
Greg, final thoughts?
My final thoughts on this, listening to what Keyon and Nevin had to say, um, I'm wondering what happens next outside of this case. What are sports leagues going to do to prevent this from happening again? Because what you're going to see, it's happening already, is looking at how games were affected, and how much money was lost by bettors and gamblers. What are the leagues going to do? The leagues are heavily involved with these casinos and with these betting sites. What are they going to do? What type of guardrails are they going to put in place to prevent this from happening in the future? Very curious.
It will be interesting. Gentlemen, excellent discussion in regard to what has already transpired. We're going to stay on top of this story. We'll have more episodes coming your way as new information is released. So definitely stay tuned. For myself, Nevin, Greg, and Keyon, thank you so much for tuning in.